Welcome to the Karen Kenney Show.
Hey, you guys, welcome to the Karen Kenney Show. I'm wicked excited to be here today. I'm going to keep this one as short and to the point as I can. I had a lot of shit going on today, but I still wanted to show up and spend a little time with you. So thank you so much. If you're listening to this, if you're one of my loyal listeners, welcome back. I appreciate you so much. You just have no idea. And if you are new to the show, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. So I think I'm going to call this sucker Controlled Burns. Controlled burns. You might be like, what? Unless you're in forestry, you might not know what the heck I'm talking about. But stick with me because I got a story and then I'm going to share a little insights and then also a little resource that you guys might want to go and treat yourselves and grab yourselves. So controlled burns, we're going to get there. Buckle up for safety. Here we go. So I was just doing a post over on Facebook and I'm just going to share with you like what I was writing. And and then I'm going to dive into this resource and talk a little bit about what a controlled burn is and why I was thinking about it. So first of all, I should have printed this out here. Hold on. I'm going to print this sucker out and then hold it up so you guys can see it. And we're back. Okay, thank you. So for you, it only felt like a second, but I was over here printing something off my computer. Okay, so I was going to post this meme to go along with this post that I just did, but I wanted to give the author of this book a shout out instead, but I still might post this next week. But I'm going to hold it up so you can see it. And I will describe it to you, fantastic listeners. Okay, so first of all, I love Winnie the Pooh. So it's a little picture and it's Winnie the Pooh sitting on a log with Piglet and they're having a little conversation outside. And at the top, it says, all right, just imagine Piglet in his little green jumper and his little pink ears and face and his little feet. And then Winnie the Pooh, all golden, just sitting there with his hands on his belly. It's like the cutest thing. Okay, they're sitting on their bumps on a log. They're just sitting there. And it says, "What day is today?" asked Pooh. And Piglet says, "It's the day we burn this motherfucker to the ground." "It's the day we burn this motherfucker to the ground," squeaked Piglet. "My favorite day," said Pooh. So the reason why I'm sharing that with you is, look, there are just times in an entrepreneur's life when you just feel like, I just want to burn this whole freaking thing to the ground. Like, I'm over it. I'm done. I feel trapped. Like I'm in a box. It's boring. Like whatever. There's all this drama that starts to happen up in your head. And you just feel like, that's it. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And if you've ever had the urge to like strike a match and like toss it at your business, just know that I totally get it. Like I hear you, I hear you so loud and clear. Right. And that was me last week, except I was doing it while, like, some of you are too young to know this song, but back in 1985, there was a song that came out and it was by Rock Master Scott and the Dynamic Three. And it was called "The Roof Is on Fire." And so while I was having this urge to just kind of like strike a match and burn it all to the ground, but I'm hearing this in my head, like as part of the soundtrack of what I was feeling. And there's a line in the song that gets repeated at the end, and that you don't want me singing, but I'll kind of say it. And where it goes, the roof is on fire. And then the response from the other singers in the song say, "We don't need no water, let the motherfucker burn." And then they're like, "Burn, motherfucker, burn," right? So if you're a kid of the 80s and the 90s growing up around that age, no doubt you heard this song. And so that was that was what I was kind of chanting in my head, right? We don't need no water. Let's just let it all burned to the ground. Like I had my panties in a bunch about it. I was like worked up. And there was this dialogue. There was kind of like this dialogue that was happening in my brain. And just double amen hands, man. I've been a business owner for like over 20 years. So this is not new to me, right? I have been to this phase where I'm just like, ugh, I'm just over it. Like I don't want to do it. Either I don't want to do this thing or I don't want to do it this way. And look, it's not just business people. You may have felt this about your job as like if you work for somebody else, if you're in corporate, if you're an employee, you may have felt this way about just a habit that you've been doing or a relationship that you've been in. You know, when you get that urge and you're just like, I'm fucking done. Like, I don't want to do this or whatever. Now, we're going to get into the nuances of that in a moment. But there was this dialogue that was kind of going on in my brain and my body. And this is just to give you a glimpse. This is just what kind of what it like felt like and sounded like in my head. Like literally, this is me. I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to go get a job. So like, I'm like walking around the house talking to my sweetie and I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to go get a job. And if people want to talk to me, they can come and find me in aisle 3 at Home Depot. I'll be over there like reorganizing all the screws. I'll be putting all the screws in perfect order. Okay. That's what I'm going to be doing. But thank you, baby Jesus in a walnut shell, that I have my sweetie, the lovely and brilliant Chris Lester. And I had a handful of friends, right? Specifically, KT, Emmeline, and Coach Jacob, right? Jordan, you know who you guys are, right? And they really listened to me and they talked to me and they heard me out. And then they reflected back to me some really important things about myself and about my work and how I was feeling. And it's so funny because I often use this voice with one of my clients where I'll say to him, like when he's starting to get worked up about something, I'll always go, hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Psst. Hey, buddy, look over here for a second. Right. And that's kind of what they did for me in each their own way. They were like, hey, buddy, why don't we put those matches down over there? Why don't we just take a few good deep breaths? Now, why don't you just tell me what's really going on? Because it wasn't really about wanting to burn down the whole business. Sometimes it's just about this feeling where you're just like, nothing that I do matters. And I don't even know if anybody gets it or if they understand what I do. And, you know, people who have known me for years still can't quite understand. People who have worked for me, worked with me still can't even describe what I do. They're like, your work is so intangible and it's life-changing and it changed my whole life. And I still don't even really know how to talk about it. And there's times when you're just like, oh my God, like, I just want to like pull my hair out. I just want to like bang my head on the desk. I just want to burn it all down. But, these people who I call my balcony people, they're the ones who reminded me. And I hope you have these kinds of people in your life too. All right. But they're the ones who reminded me. They're like, hey, you and your work matter. You and your creativity and what you're trying to do in the world, like they matter and your work is needed. And you are making a difference in the world. And just by showing up and just by being yourself, just by you using your book and using your voice and writing your book and doing your podcast and helping your clients, just by you doing your best to like express yourself and love people and serve people, and then you have the friends who are like, hey, just by you following your own heart and letting yourself be wild, not letting yourself be put into a box, being able to change things up, like you get to do this. You can create whatever you want to create, right? Like having those reminders are so incredibly important. And so it was perfect timing that I was feeling that way when I picked up this book. And I'm going to show it to you guys. And it's called Regenerative Business. And the subtitle is How to Align Your Business with Nature for More Abundance, Fulfillment, and Impact. And it's by Samantha Garcia. And Sam's really fantastic. She lives in Hawaii. She does all kinds of things, but she supports spiritual entrepreneurs in her work. And just Google her, look her up. And you can find out more about her. But also, if this piques your interest, go grab this book. And I want to just read a little snippet of it, just a quote, that's something that she wrote, because when I read this, I started laughing. So you guys know I always say STOTJ, like spiritual team on the job. And when I say that, right, it's because Like there's something that I've been thinking about. There's something that's been on my mind. There's something that's been on my heart. There's a question that I've had. And inevitably, the universe, my divine helpers, my spiritual team, right? They either show me a sign or they bring me a resource or they remind me or I hear my own voice, right? On something I recorded playing back at me. And I'm like, oh my God, that message right there was actually for me. Like prior me recorded it for future me who was going to be standing in this spot with the matches. And I heard it and I was like, oh my God. And that's how I felt like this book, Regenerative Business, came into my life at exactly the right time. Because while I was over there on the bench with Pooh and Piglet getting ready to just like set it all on fire, right? And I was serious. Like it was the first time I was like, I'm going to go get a job. And I talked to my friend Emmeline and I was like, Emmeline, I don't even know how to look for a job. I've worked for myself for over 20 years. Like, how does one even get a job? I'm like, remember monster.com? And she's like, oh, no, you just go to this website and this website. And she was telling me like, and I was like, oh, and I'm going to go look. And you know what happened is I started to go look. And I quickly got my wits back about me. And this is where the subject of controlled burns comes in. Because I started to see what the expectation was of some of these job listings. Now, first of all, I'm like, what would I even do? Like, what would I even do besides being myself and do what I do? Right? As a spiritual mentor, as a integrative change worker, as a hypnotist, as a, as a life coach, as a writer, as a storyteller, as a podcaster, like all this stuff that I do, it is part of my business. It is an extension of myself. It is how I love people. It is how I love people. And in the past, I have loved people in other ways. I was a concierge at a hotel. I was a bartender and a server, like forever, right? I had a yoga studio. There's been all these different ways that I've served people. And so when I got frustrated enough that I wanted to burn it all down, and I was like, okay, this is the first time, you guys, that I actually have looked for like a job and was like, okay, I'm going to see what's out there. I'm just going to see what's out there, right? And I'm sure my sweetie was just sitting there like, oh my God. Woo, God bless her. But so I looked up some things. And when I looked, I was like, sweetie, I was like, listen to this. They expect you to, and I like rambled off this list. I'm like, and look how much they want to pay you. I'm like, these people are fucking crazy. I'm like, that is not going to happen. I'm like, that is not going to happen. The level of responsibility that they are asking for, the level of commitment that they're asking for, and for the amount of pay that I'm like, no way, right? So I was brought back to quote unquote reality, like really quickly. And I was like, okay, I already know that I don't have to burn everything down, right? And I didn't maybe look at it through this framework. And that's why I'm so excited to share with you guys what Sam had to say. Because what I've done in the past is, I mean, and there are times when I have burned it all down. When I closed my yoga studio with no idea, right? Like where my clients for spiritual mentoring were going to come from. I just knew I didn't want to do that anymore. So I've taken so many leaps of faith in my life. And maybe you have too. Because if you're an entrepreneur, I'm telling you, I can't imagine if you've never had this, I want to burn it all to the ground. You just might be a unicorn. I don't know. But what we can do is decide to burn down certain parts of what we've been doing, to let go, to release, to end, to close, right? To use those words, right? Maybe to choose to stop doing a particular thing, to stop being in a particular relationship or friendship or marriage or dynamic, right? And to just maybe not like, just cut off the parts or remove or release or let go of the parts. Let there be an ending so that a new beginning can happen, right? You might be closing the window, but swing open the door. And the way that we talk about this, or Sam talks about this in her book, Regenerative Business, she says, it's this cycle. It's part of the cycle. And I guess that's what I'm saying, that I have felt this feeling before. I have been here before in my business where I was like, that's it, I'm all done. And she kind of relates it to like nature and death and destruction and how they're part of the cycle. And I know when I used to live in California, like every once in a while you'd hear that there was like a fire that had started, and whether it had started from lightning or whether it had started from some camper or, somebody who started a fire in the woods and it got out of control or whatever. So there, sometimes it's like, and Sam also uses, because she's in Hawaii, she uses that great example of when like there's a volcanic eruption and the lava comes and it like covers the fields. Now, I have also known a few forest rangers in my lifetime, and they talk about how sometimes those burns are tragic and they wipe out so much life and they're totally destructive. But sometimes those fires are regenerative, meaning a lot of those blackened trees, like all that stuff that happens, what it does is it allows new growth to take place. So rather than, and this is where I'm gonna like dive into what Sam is saying here. And she talks about how the ash can work as a fertilizer so that new plants can grow, and that fires will burn away a lot of the overgrowth so that new trees can like grow. And so it's this incredible process. And the way she relates it to your business is she says you can do controlled burns in your business. And when I heard that, I thought, oh my God, this is so fantastic that I want to share it with people. Just to give you a sip, as Linda Ty says, like a little taste. So maybe you'll go buy the book, especially if you felt this way, or you have a business bestie or a business friend who is kind of slogging through it right now. This would be an incredible gift. And she says, if you've been in business for a while, I would bet money you've had the compulsion to burn your entire business at one point or another and just say, fuck it. And I was like, oh my God, that is literally exactly what I was saying to my sweetie last week. I was dying. Listen to this quote, though. This is the piece I really wanted to share with you. She says, but instead of letting a full-on wildfire blaze, you can regularly do controlled burns in your business. And I would say in your life, to make sure your wildness is still pulsing. And so that a massive forest fire or volcanic eruption isn't necessary for things to feel in alignment. I was like, oh my God, how fantastic and brilliant is that? I'm going to show you the book again, Regenerative Business, How to Align Your Business with Nature for More Abundance, Fulfillment, and Impact. It's by Samantha Garcia. You can get it, online in your bookstore, your favorite local bookstore, ask them to order it or whatever. So I was kind of loving this concept and about how, instead of burning it all to the ground, and whether that's right, like your relationship or your marriage, maybe you just need to have a talk about the certain aspects that are no longer working. Maybe if it's in a friendship, maybe the friendship has felt out of balance. And somebody actually recently asked me to do a whole podcast on this, so maybe I will, about the transactional nature sometimes of friendships, and when things hit that tipping point where they're no longer in balance. But instead of burning down the whole friendship, maybe you can just have, again, a conversation or something and say, hey, this arrangement, right? However, this thing has been going has not felt fair. It has not felt in alignment for me, and then maybe talk about that and see if you guys can reconcile it. It's the same thing with certain habits, right? Maybe it's like, okay, I don't want to like stop going to the gym or stop going to the yoga class or stop doing this, but maybe I just need to tweak it. Right? Maybe instead of going to boot camp, I want to go to yoga. Maybe instead of going to Pilates, I want to go to a dance class or whatever, to allow yourself to feel excited again, to allow yourself to feel reawakened, to allow yourself to feel lit up. What excites you? And so to be able to look at your business or to look at your life and to look at your relationships or your habits or whatever you've been doing and saying, yeah, this no longer feels good. This doesn't feel in alignment. Because if we don't check it, it can sour the whole experience. And sometimes we think it's like, to use rather than chopping down a whole tree, maybe we can just get rid of some of the rotten limbs. Do you know what I'm saying? And that way the tree can regenerate. And it's the same thing, instead of like saying like, oh, I'm just going to, I don't want to be graphic, like talking about body parts, but my whole thing is we don't have to destroy the whole thing. right? Maybe we can just simply adjust and do these little controlled burns. Now look at, sometimes you should just burn the whole thing to the ground, but only you can make that decision, right? Sometimes it's just like, fuck this and fuck that, and I'm done, and it's in my rearview mirror, and I don't want to look back, and I don't care about the bridges I burned. I'm going to build new ones. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's the way to go. And other times we can do it with a little bit more nuance, right? Or we can say, okay, I just want to get rid of this part of it. And I want to be clear. This isn't about, I want to be clear in case any of my people from the nest are listening. The nest wasn't the thing that I wanted to burn to the ground. That's not it. The nest, I just knew that was time. But there are other aspects sometimes, just being in business where you're like, because it's, look, I have often joked like, man, when I got into this whole entrepreneurial thing, I'm like, I do not have the nervous system for an entrepreneur, right? But so I've had to build my resilience. I've had to build my ability to be uncomfortable, which in some ways in my life I was excellent at, right? But in other ways, right? Like a lot of us do not have, I would say, great resiliency around the discomfort sometimes around money. Like how in business, sometimes, you'll make a lot of money for a couple of months and then it goes dry for a little while. And if we're not able to self-resource and to have tools in our toolkit, to spiritual tools, right? And maybe some brain science tools and some anxiety interrupting tools, some pattern interrupting tools, so that we can learn how to self-resource and calm our nervous system, you can get really overwhelmed sometimes. So when we have those moments, first of all, it's so helpful to have balcony people in your life. And if you haven't listened to that episode, just Google it. It's like Karen Kenney Show, balcony people. But I talk all about how we have both balcony and basement people. But balcony people are the ones who like really see you, really get you, really understand you, and celebrate you and love you and cheer you on. And they just think you're the bee's knees and the cat's pajamas. And they just want you to do really well. Like they are the people who will shout you out and share about you and refer to you and all of that, right? They're the ones up in the balcony swinging their jackets over their heads and making a ruckus and a rumpus on your behalf. You know what I mean? And that's what we want. So just having gratitude right now here on the air as we're recording for my balcony people. And hopefully you have at least one of those people in your life. And then also hopefully maybe you're a balcony person for some other people in your own life, because man, it's how we get by. We get by with a little help from our friends. And so, so sometimes and we're back. I don't know where I was going, but my point being is that sometimes we have to let some things die so that there can be new birth, right? Rebirth, regrowth. Sometimes we have to do little controlled fires in our life and in our business so that new stuff can be generated, so that new ideas and new collaborations and new creativity and new vision can come. And sometimes, when they say you can't see the forest through the trees or something like that, like sometimes we get so bogged down and it just starts to feel stale and unsustainable and uncomfortable and rigid and like I'm in a box. And for me, a lot of times, just full transparency, it comes for me in the way of feeling like I feel like misunderstood, or that people don't get what I actually do, or people don't want what I'm actually offering the world, and one of the things that is true is that a lot of times there are a lot of people who are benefiting from whatever it is that you offer, whether it's your music or your artistry or your quote unquote content or your coaching or your business or what you're putting, your artistry, your body of work that you're putting out into the world. There are a lot of silent consumers who don't let you know that they appreciate you, who don't comment or like or email you or DM you or respond or whatever, or send up a flare, as I say, to say, hey, I listened to that and I loved it. So sometimes you just feel like you're out there, like, Major Tom floating in space, and that we've got a problem, right? Ground control to Major Tom, right? And the circuits are dead and you're just like, I don't I don't know if what I'm doing is landing, is making a difference. And it can be sometimes like it takes a lot of nervous system capacity to create into what can feel like a void, right? Is anybody getting this? Can anybody hear me? Does anybody care? So when I start to get punchy like that up in my head, I have people in my life who remind me that I matter and my work matters, and to keep going, that it is being helpful, that it is making a difference. And hopefully you have those people in your life. But when you start to recognize some places maybe in your life, your relationships, or your business, where it is no longer serving you to keep going in that direction, you get to pivot or turn around or a plot twist or change it. You also get to do controlled burns when necessary. Remember, controlled burns do not blaze out of control. They are specific. They are, let's call it strategic, although that's, let's use the word intentional. They are designed to not just kill off and die. They are designed to make room for. They are designed to create space. They are designed to nurture and nourish the soil of whatever might be your next thing that you feel called to create. So you guys, I hope that this was helpful for you in some way. I really super duper appreciate you. And, you know, since I was talking about helping your nervous system and being able to, you know, interrupt your anxiety and do all these things, which are so deeply, incredibly important in business, because when you are in business, you are going to bump up against yourself like crazy. All your brilliance, all your bullshit, all your fear, all your love, you are going to discover yourself again and again and again. And we need to be able to regulate ourselves and resource ourselves in our nervous system. So you guys, I do these Storytime hypnosis sessions every 2 weeks or so. Like the second and the fourth Tuesday of the month is when I've been doing them. I'll have another one coming up, so check the date. And I would love to have you join us. It is such a fantastic experience. People, I'm not tuning my own horn. I'm just being honest. I'm telling you straight facts. You know, I could show you all the testimonials and people's words, but people are loving it and they're getting such benefit from it and such value from it. They're gifting it to their friends. They're coming back time and time and time again. It's only $25. And you get to stay in your own home. You don't even have to turn on your Zoom camera. You just get to show up in your jammies and your PJs, bring your favorite blanket. And I walk you through this little journey, which helps to soothe your nervous system. It's good for your brain. It's good for your body. It's good for your nervous system. It's good for you. And it helps to also kind of wire in more empowering beliefs, more self-love, more self-trust, more self-compassion, all these things that we need when we are running a business and trying to move through the world with any kind of modicum of confidence and calm and clarity and courage, right? And curiosity and fun. So come try one if you haven't already. Come try a Storytime hypnosis. And then, as I already told you, what the nest, like, you know, quote unquote, burning that down, although that's not what I did, but you know what I'm saying. That is regenerating new life for a group coaching program that I'm going to be offering in September, which I cannot wait to invite people into. I'm just going to have 12 people each round that we do it. It's like 4-month cycles, just kind of like the seasons, right? Each round, 12 people. I can't wait to be able to support people at that level. And then also, obviously, I work with people one-to-one all the time. And I have space for a couple of clients actually right now for the Quest, which is one-to-one spiritual mentoring, life coaching, change work, hypnosis, all that stuff. So you guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you took away something from today's episode. And if you did, if it was helpful to you and you could think of somebody that would love Sam's book or this episode, please do share. Please, if you post on social media or something, tag me so that I can see it and I can say thank you, because I always want to extend my love back to people who are showing me the love as well. And just know that I appreciate you so much. Wherever you go, may you leave, as I always say, yourself and the other people and the plants and the pets and the animals and the environment and the rocks and the trees and the nature itself better than how you found it. Wherever you go, May you sprinkle a little love. May you bring a little extra kindness and goodness wherever you go. May you be a blessing. Bye. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Karen Kenney Show. I super duper appreciate your time, friendship, and support. And look, if something that I shared from my heart today somehow landed in yours, I'd love to hear about it. So please tag me on Facebook or Instagram or IG stories or wherever the cool kids are hanging out these days, and let me know what your favorite part was or what you found most helpful. You can find me over at Karen Kenney Live. That's Karen, KenneYlive. And if you're digging what I'm saying and you want to hear more, I'd be wicked grateful if you could go to iTunes and subscribe and leave a review, because you guys, that's how you'll help me to keep spreading the love. And if you can think of someone that could benefit from hearing this episode, please share it with them. I'd also love to stay connected with you. So if the feeling is mutual, please go to KarenKenney.com/freebie and download my free guide to building your spiritual team. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, keep living in the fearless flow. Know that I see you, I appreciate you, and I love you. And wherever you go, may you be a blessing.